Hi everyone, welcome back for another episode of Graduate Journey. Today we're joined with Charlie.
Hi.
Right, so first just kicking off this interview, which university do you attend?
So I went to University of Cambridge, specifically St. Catherine's College.
Okay, and what major did you study there?
So I read Human, Social and Political Sciences, which is basically politics and international relations. And it has three core elements: sociology, politics and international relations, and anthropology. And as you go through the years, you specialize into one of those tracks.
Great, and which one did you choose to specialize in?
I did politics and international relations.
What actually led you to taking politics? Because it's not actually it's not like a STEM major or like a very common major, right? So what drew you towards politics?
I was interested in politics. I really liked history, but I didn't want to do history. It was a bit too heavy reading for me. And I was like, from the age of 15, 16, I was really interested in current affairs, international relations. Um, it was also something where I'm dyslexic, which means my math skills aren't the best. And so politics and international relations is an area where you don't need to have STEM or maths to kind of exceed at. And I like thinking, I like analysing things, and that's what international relations particularly kind of meant for me. I would say if anybody's thinking about politics and international relations at Oxbridge, to understand the difference between PPE, which is like politics, philosophy, economics, which is the course at Oxford, and HSPS, which was my course, and understand that if you want to be writing more essays and reading, that HSPS is the one for you. But if you like your economics, your maths, that sort of stuff, then go for PPE. I mean, I wasn't really interested in science. I didn't want to do STEM. So I did economics, history, politics for A levels. And so I was like, I want to do international relations.
So initially, where all did you apply when you were first going through the the application process?
Yeah, so the way it works in the UK is you apply to 5 unis. You have like your first choice and then four, which are lower grades. So I applied to Cambridge, St Andrews, Durham, Warwick, and Reading, and I got into all five. And I said if I got the grades, I wanted Cambridge, and if I missed the grades, I'd want to go to St Andrews.
Okay. And so what about the US? Can you speak about any difference in application processes between US and UK?
So I didn't apply to any US schools. I did briefly look at Harvard, but then I kind of worked out that flying to America would be quite a bit of a commute for term time. My school didn't really students didn't really apply for America. It wasn't something that was kind of on our radar. But I did have a friend who there's a charity in the UK called the Sutton Trust, which is a charity that helps state school students and underprivileged students apply for American schools. So my friend went through this like process. You have to meet certain requirements, certain grades, and kind of like certain incomes, free school meals, that sort of thing. And they supported her applying for American schools. They helped the interview process, and then I think they even pay for her flights to fly to America like once a year for term. But I don't really know too much about the American process.
Right. Okay. And so now, what about your future career prospects or goals that you have?
Yeah, so I'm currently working in a big FMCG firm, which is fast moving consumer goods. So I work with Kraft Heinz, like the ketchup or the cheese,
Right.
in international sales. I've always wanted to go into the corporate world. I'd like to do something with either consulting or it's like sustainability. And so in terms of my future goals, I'd like to do a master's in either like the MBA and an MBA at Oxford, or like a sustainability environmental like master's to be able to like do like sustainability consulting.
Right. Okay. First, what all subjects did you take in high school, and what board did you do?
So I did 3 A levels, which was when I was 17 to 18, and I did economics, governance and politics, and history. They were all the exam board called AQA. And then for GCSEs, which is the stage before, I did 12 GCSEs. so like your sciences, your English and maths, your economics, your German, that sort of thing. I also did for A level what's called an EPQ, which is an extended project qualification, which is worth half an A level. And you do like a 2,000-word essay on a subject of your choice, and you do the research, you write the essay, and you submit everything, and that gets graded.
Okay. And so, what about any AP courses or any extra credit courses that you took in high school? Did you do any of that?
So at least for my school, and I'm pretty sure I speak for the UK system, you don't really do extra credit courses. I did an additional GCSE, which meant that I did it outside of school time. So I went to like a school, like a class in the like after school. What you can do in the UK is what's called like Jack Petchey Awards or the Duke of Edinburgh Award, which is basically extracurricular activities which are recognised by UCAS, which is like the system you apply, the governance board you apply for uni. I won a Jack Petchey. I never did Duke of Edinburgh, but they do get you like points if you do apply. You can also do in the summer of like when you're 16. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically you go away for 3 weeks and you do like a summer, 1 week of business, 1 week of supporting the community, 1 week of like adventures, which is like run by the government. But yeah, I did like debating outside of it all, but not really. We don't really do extra credit kind of things in school.
Right. And so how do you think actually winning one of those awards contributed to your application at Cambridge? Do you think it made you stand out?
Probably not, just because I won mine for drama, and I was applying for politics. I do think though, if when you're like 17 and 18, if you are winning like Olympiads or like Jack Petcheys for very specific reasons, it does look good. So I was nominated for a Jack Petchey Award for drama back when I was 13, and it was a specific like school play I did. But you can when you're like 17 or 18, if you win a Jack Petchey for like outstanding work in a certain area or volunteering for some reason, that does look good on your application, providing it's related to the course or subject you're applying for.
Okay. And so just so our viewers know, what is a Jack Petchey Award?
Yeah, so Jack Petchey Award is something that happens in the UK. Basically, there was a guy called Jack Petchey who like made a lot in business, and for school kids, you can be nominated for something called a Jack Petchey Award, where you then win like some money. And it's just like a recognized award for like the school system, and it's an external thing. So your school nominates you, and you have to get approved by like the Jack Petchey Foundation. And when you get approved, you then win like a medal and a certificate, and you have like an award ceremony. So my school was in Croydon, which is like a town, and once a year they have a Jack Petchey ceremony where basically everybody from Croydon who's won a Jack Petchey will go to the centre and will be awarded it in like a ceremony.
Okay. And so how many of these awards do you think are like given out every year so that we know like just roughly how if it's like rare or like is it something?
Yeah, so it's uncommon. Like it's known about, and you can win it with your school, or you can win it with like scouts, brownies, guides. Um, I have one. My brother has one. He won it through scouts. I wouldn't like they're not rare, but then they're like uncommon. Like you do have
Okay.
to do something to win it.
Right. Okay. Great. And so now with the extracurriculars. So I know that UK extracurriculars aren't that emphasized upon, but did you do any extracurriculars or anything like that?
Yeah, so I did a lot of extracurriculars. I will say if you're applying for Oxford or Cambridge, do extracurriculars around the subject you're applying for. So for me, I did debating Model United Nations in school, and then outside of school, I volunteered for a political party, and I was on like a board, my local like board as like the youth representative, which I would say counts as an extracurricular. Um, so yeah, I think your access to what extracurriculars is very based on your school. So Model United Nations for the state school system, I think we were one of the only state schools in the UK to do Model United Nations. But it's a really good opportunity. Same with debating. Anything that shows you're interested in the wider field that you're applying for is really looked like it is really like celebrated within your like Cambridge application.
Got it. Okay. And so, what about leadership roles or any community service?
Yeah, so I was in charge of my school's MUN as a leadership role. We didn't really have a lot of them. You had like head girl and deputy head girls, but I wasn't really involved in that. In terms of community service, I don't think that's too much of a thing over here. But what I will say, if you're applying for medicine, dentistry, I think veterinary and like nursing, they do expect you to have done some sort of volunteering, either at like a hostel or a hospice, rather, sorry, hospice, if you can, like at a hospital, something that shows that you're interested in caring for people or animals.
Okay.
I would say that kind of counts as community service because you're doing something for the community.
Right. Okay. And so you had so much going on. So then how did you actually manage to balance your time and avoid getting burnt out? Because those are two of the biggest things that a high school student struggles with on a daily basis.
Yeah, so like I will be very open. I don't think I was close to experiencing burnout at school just because I I was within my ability to manage it all. I would say if you are feeling burnt out, kind of reprioritize what you're doing and be organized and prepared. So I started revising for my A levels properly. So you sit your A levels in June, and I started properly revising maybe like February. So I gave myself February, March, April, May. So I gave myself a good 4 months to be doing all of my notes and everything. Um, I would also, in terms of burnout, don't put too much pressure on yourself. At the end of the day, if you need to get your grades, focus on your grades. If you're doing loads of extracurriculars, like drop one or put it on hold. So I actually, during my A levels, I worked to some, like I had like a Saturday job. So I was working like one of the weekends. 6 weeks before my exams, I stopped because I knew that I needed to focus on my like my grades. I had a friend in the year above me who she got a chemical engineering offer for Cambridge and she didn't get the grades. She sat the exams and missed them. And I do think that was because she was doing too much. She was doing head girl. She had like 8 hours of ballet lessons. She was doing singing. She was doing musical instruments. She was doing everything. And she did it too close to her exams. So I would say like if you're getting to a point where you're like really stressed, your grades are slipping, you're like losing sleep, drop your extracurriculars. Because also at the end of the day, at least how it works in the UK, you apply with your extracurriculars in terms of in your personal statement, you get your offer, and your offer is based on your grades. So at the end of the day, if it comes to that point, you need to get your grades. You no longer need to do your extracurriculars. But within that, you shouldn't just be studying. Like reprioritize studying, but also make sure that you are doing things that make you happy. You can't be studying 100% all around the clock. You need to be having time with friends or watching TV or like going horse riding if that's your thing.
Okay, yeah, great. And so you mentioned a job. So how do you think actually taking up an internship affects your application?
Um, So we would call it work experience, and I think it definitely has a big impact on your personal statement or your application, providing it's related to your course. So I did work experience in the Houses of Parliament for a couple of years, like in the summer and in holidays. And that work experience was something I could write about and kind of explain how I saw a different perspective on politics, having been at the heart of UK politics. Something like that is very, very valuable for your personal statement because you're showing a wider interest in your subject beyond just studying it at school. I would say in general, internships are very, very good. It shows commitment, it shows ability to learn. Maybe if it's in something you've never done before, it shows that you're willing to like push yourself outside your comfort zone. Again, though, with the Oxbridge application, you want your work experience and your internships to be somewhat related to the area of like
Yeah.
academia you want to pursue.
So do you have any tips on the actual personal statement?
Um, yes, so the way it works in the UK is the personal statement's very you've got a word limit and a character limit, which means I think it's like one is it 750 words? Like it's basically 1.5 pages, if that. I would say specifically for the Oxbridge application, make sure everything you're saying is relevant to your course. Because you don't have a lot of words, and you need to be able to show the people you're applying to that you're interested, you're engaged, you have a want of learning.
Right.
With the Oxbridge application, just something to highlight, at least for the UK, when you apply, so the way it works in the UK is you write one essay and you use that essay for each of your 5 universities you apply for. However, with the Oxbridge process, because you apply via like the Oxford or the Cambridge like portal, they do give you an option to submit an additional statement of like 250 words or something. So what I would say to that is, if you're applying to like 5 different universities and you have to make your personal statement kind of relevant for each of those universities, use your extra opportunity to write very specifically about like the Cambridge course and why you want that. The rule we were told was like 90% like interest in the subject, 10% wider personality. So that would include like you play a musical instrument, a foreign language, something that like isn't relevant but shows you're a well-rounded student. But for your personal statement for Cambridge, showing that you're interested, that you're reading, that you do things outside of the classroom, that's very relevant to your degree.
Okay. And so the main priority is the main priority to highlight the grades in the personal statement, or?
No, we were told don't mention grades because you submit your grades. So when you apply for universities or Cambridge or whatever, you say this is what I like. There's like a whole page where you fill out, these are my GCSEs, these are extracurriculars I've done which are like relevant to the like Jack Petchy, that sort of thing, and then these are my predicted grades. So the university already knows what you're expected to get. What they don't know is, are you good? Because at the end of the day with Oxbridge, you're going to survive in Oxbridge if you love your degree. Being smart isn't enough. Being good in the classroom isn't enough. You need to understand that if you're doing a 12-hour, 13-hour study day, it's because you're enjoying the content. And the universities want to see that love of your degree. And so for politics or like economics or like medicine, it's showing that you have a caregiving aspect, that you're really interested in how the body works, that you've gone out and read political books, and that you're engaged in politics.
Right. Okay. And probably the last question of the day is regarding the interviews. So do you have any advice for the interviews? Because I know that's also a major part of the entire Oxbridge application process.
Yeah. So the interviews are scary. It was probably one of the scariest things I've ever done. And I also walked out of my interviews being like, I haven't got in, like no way have I got in. I would say like advice for your interviews, I can really only speak about politics. Expect to be asked about current events, but don't stress yourself out because they're not going to ask you about one really random thing happening in like somewhere in Latin America. They'll ask you about like some bigger things that they kind of everybody will know about, and just be prepared to discuss it. Give your thoughts. I think something that stood out in my interview was in my first interview, we were talking about the tolerance paradox, which is basically if you live in a tolerant society, you have to tolerate intolerant people. But if you have intolerant people within a tolerant society, can you be tolerant? Now that's like a very like mind-bending thing to be talking about, quite stressed, with somebody who like writes essays about this as his like career. And I remember I said something and he like challenged me, and I was like, well, I think I'm digging myself into a bit of a hole, but this is my response. So showing that I was reflecting on like the points they were suggesting, and showing that I was aware that something I might be saying kind of could be contradictory, but just being aware and being willing to discuss things, because at the end of the day they want to know that if you get in and you're doing a supervision and you come with your essay, that you will be willing to discuss and debate things in a supervision. At least for Cambridge, the way my course worked was each college had different requirements. So some colleges ask before your interview to submit like pre-written essays. Some colleges don't ask for that, and what they do instead is on the day they'll give you like a text to analyze, and then you're expected to go into that your interview and kind of talk about your text. And some colleges just say do the process, do the entrance exam, and then come and talk to us. So I chose my college because I didn't want to submit pre-written work, and I didn't want to have to read a text on the day because I thought that I'd find that very stressful. So that's just something to flag, is research the application processes for each of the college for your course, because they will look different.
Okay, fine. Yeah, great. Yep, as I was saying, that wraps up this interview. Thank you so much for your time. It's been really helpful and has provided a lot of insight.
You're very welcome.
Hi guys, if you'd like a one-page PDF summary of this interview with the key extracurriculars, competitions, leadership positions, classwork, and also updates on the new videos, there's a Google form link in the description. Once you fill it out, we can send it to you. Thank you.